The first Freeway Faceoff of the season lives up to the hype, but it wasn't the outcome we wanted. Is the rivalry finally back? We are talking Kings Ducks on this edition of Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for the past 30 years. Also one of the co-hosts of Locked On NHL Game Night, a nightly podcast and YouTube show recapping the night in the NHL, and a passionate LA Kings fan for over 30 years. The LA Kings played game number 24 of the NHL season. They are in a stretch of 6 of 7 games at home. This was the one non-home game in Anaheim against the Ducks in the first of 4 Freeway Faceoff games this season. It was one of the more highly anticipated Freeway Faceoffs games that we've had in recent memory, as not only bragging rights were on the line, but possibly first place in the Pacific Division as well. And while this game was exciting and thrilling and passionate and competitive, the finish was unfortunately very disappointing for the LA Kings. 5-4 shootout defeat at the hands of the Ducks, but the Kings had a 4-2 lead, gave up the final 2 goals in regulation, including the final goal as far as tying up the game with 1:31 left to play. We'll get into all the details of this, but as far as the game stats in this one, again, Ducks win at 5-4 in a shootout. Shots on goal favored Anaheim 31-27. Special teams, the Kings were 0 for 1 on the power play. Anaheim was 1 for 2. Faceoffs favored LA, winning 52.7% of the faceoffs to the Ducks 47.3%. Hits favored Anaheim 18-14. Block shots favored the Kings 24-21. Okay, look, this was a really good hockey game. It was entertaining. It was fun. It was passionate. The building down there in Anaheim seemed to be pretty split. There were a lot of Kings fans there. There were a lot of Ducks fans there, obviously, and that made for a fun environment. The game was, again, eventful, entertaining, and the Kings didn't play poorly. But when you hold a 4-2 lead in the third period and you don't close it out, obviously, that is not what we're looking for. I think the Kings being a very good defensive team, having a goalie that's, I think, at least one of the best in the Western Conference, and then you don't hold that lead, you miss a chance to maybe go into first place. You're playing a hated division rival. Add it all up, it's a very disappointing loss. But for all the talk about the Kings sitting back and not holding leads, and we know why, because of the playoffs, that really hasn't been the case this season for the Kings. 24 games this year, the Kings have allowed a total of 17 goals in the third period. 8 of those goals have been scored in the final 10 minutes of the third period, 2 of them by Anaheim on Friday, which makes that loss even more painful. But not including 2 empty net goals allowed by the Kings. The Kings have only allowed 3 goals in the final 5 minutes of any game this season. Now, that does include the Ducks goal in this one with 18:29 left in the third period that tied it up. And that's the latest goal the Kings have allowed that wasn't an empty net goal this season, which also makes this one hurt a little bit more. The Kings have actually, though, been good at not allowing late goals. And that's obviously a good thing because the Kings have shown so far this year they are going to play a ton of close games. This was their 17th one-goal game of the season. That's the most in the NHL. They have a record of 8-2-7 in those games. And the Kings have now played 7 straight games decided by 1 goal. They are 3-1-3 in those games. Now, I guess the good news is that the Kings are very comfortable playing in those types of games, maybe tight, low-scoring playoff types of games. The Kings are certainly never out of a game. Of course, the bad news is that they rarely have a comfortable lead. Although we kind of thought 2-goal lead in the third, the way the Kings can play with Darcy Kemper and net, I never thought, oh, this is over. But I was feeling pretty good about things. And unfortunately, it didn't turn out the way we wanted it in a big way. The Kings, by the way, newsflash, stink in the shootout. And Darcy Kemper, also not good in the shootout. The Kings are now 1-5 in games decided in the shootout this season. And that is the most shootout losses in the NHL. And it probably seems like forever that the Kings won a shootout game, because it kind of was. Game 2 on night 2 of the NHL season in Vegas. That's the only shootout win the Kings have this season. That's 5 straight shootout losses now for the Kings since that win in Vegas. So 24 shots or shootout attempts for the Kings this year. They have 5 goals. Adrian Kempe is 2 for 6 this season. He is the only Kings player that has a shootout attempt in all 6 of the shootout games for the Kings. Kevin Fiala has taken 5 shootout attempts. He's 1 for 5. He did ring one off the post in this one. Trevor Moore is 2 for 4, and that's it. Corey Perry's 0 for 3. Andrei Kuzmenko's 0 for 2. And Warren Fogle, Joel Armia, and Quentin Byfield are all 0 for 1 in shootout attempts this season. And I think I know why the Kings are not great in the shootout. And it's because they really don't have any of those young snipers that basically never have known a world that didn't have a shootout in it. Like those players, like the guy who scored the game-winning goal, Mason McTavish, he's 22 years old. Every game he's ever played in probably had a shootout opportunity in it. And it was cool to practice your shootout moves and to have all those skills. And it's something that they really, really work on, probably more than certainly an Andrei Kopitar ever did. At least I think that's the reason why. Now, the Kings do have a couple of younger, talented players that you think might be able to fit the bill as far as being good players in a shootout. Quentin Byfield and Brant Clark, they certainly grew up in that era. They're young, early 20s guys. But at least this season, they have combined for 1 shootout attempt. That was Byfield. Now, I don't watch these guys practice, and I don't know exactly what their skills are when it comes to the shootout because we haven't seen them very much. Quentin Byfield in his career has 4 shootout attempts, and he's got 1 goal. And I've said, for what it's worth, that the 3 shooters for the Kings every time out would be Kempe, Fiala, and Byfield. Now, Kempe and Fiala have gotten a lot of chances, and they're combined 3 for 12 in the shootout. So even my choices for the shootout haven't exactly been, lighting it up. But I don't know how much they practice it. But there's no doubt the Kings are not a good shootout team. And it's not just the shooters. It's the goalies not doing their part as well. The Kings have had 24 shootout attempts against, and they have given up 10 goals. So twice as many as they've scored. Darcy Kemper has given up 8 shootout goals in 18 shootout attempts against him. I think Darcy Kemper is a very good goalie. I have no idea why he's so bad in shootouts, but he is. And we're going to get more into Kemper's performance in this game, but this was a very disappointing game and a very disappointing, I thought, goaltending performance, because I thought the Kings definitely had the edge in net when you looked at this matchup on paper going into it. The Ducks went with Ville Husso, who was their number 3 goalie in their organization, and I thought, all right, check that box. That is a advantage for the Kings. And when the dust all settled, it really wasn't. It was, I think, at worst, even. And that is a problem. Also, the Kings are not great at getting empty net goals. They have 3 on the season. That is amongst the fewest in the NHL. And I can't tell you how many shot attempts they've had at an empty net, but it seems like a lot of times they're just icing the puck. They're not really going for the net. There's been 7 games this year where the opposing team pulled their goalie against the Kings. So it happened this time. The Ducks were able to score the tying goal and then eventually win it in the shootout. It probably doesn't help the Kings that two of the players who have scored empty net goals of their three on the season didn't play in this game, and that was Drew Doughty and Warren Foegele. We'll talk more about both of them and their injury issues coming up. The Kings last year were good at scoring empty net goals. They had 23 last year. That was good enough for third in the NHL. Now, hopefully we see the Kings with more chances to get empty net goals because that means they're leading late in the third period. But so far, that's also a little bit of the equation in the Kings. They're holding on to leads late, but it seems like there are times when they can put some games away. They haven't been able to. They certainly did not do it in this one as well. Typically, we talk in this first segment after a game about the special teams. Once again, look, the Kings only had one power play chance. They didn't really do anything at all with it, which at this point I don't think is a surprise. The Ducks did score on their first power play chance after Alex Turcotte took a tripping penalty. So once again, the Kings lose a special teams battle, and that is part of the equation in them losing this game. Corey Perry was back in Anaheim in a Kings uniform. How did he do? We'll update you on the individual players from this game. That's next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. Hockey season is officially here, and there is nothing like going to the arena for a game. But let's get real. Sometimes getting those tickets can be a problem, and that is why Gametime is what you need to use to help you get the advantage. It is your ultimate life hack to scoring amazing NHL tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. I love that what you see is what you pay. There's no hidden fees at checkout. Plus, you see exactly the view you're going to get from your seat when you buy your ticket with their in-app seat view feature. The zone deals are a game changer. You pick the section, Gametime picks the seat, and you save big. You can even find NHL tickets for under $25. Take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that is the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. All right, let's check out some of the individual performances in the Kings 5-4 shootout loss to the Ducks. Did want to check the lineup here for the Kings. It was a little bit different. Alex Turcotte was back at center on the fourth line after having the previous game off. We will talk more about that in a moment. Jeff Malott was back in the lineup on the fourth line. That was because of a injury issue or illness issue with Warren Foegele, which we'll talk more about a little bit later. So that was the only real lineup change for the LA Kings. Again, Jeff Malott in and Warren Foegele was out. Darcy Kuemper, we start with him. I thought early on he was on his game. He looked locked in. He looked composed. He looked under control. Saw 7 shots in the first period, stopped all of them. Second period, the Ducks, Chris Kreider scores on a power play. Not much chance for Kuemper on that one. Kreider got position on Joel Edmondson right in front of the net, and he easily redirected the puck through Darcy Kuemper. And at the time, I thought, okay, no big deal. Unfortunately, the next goal was a big deal, and it was a nothing shot from kind of down low near the goal line. Kuemper is hugging the post, and I have no idea how it went in on him. It found a hole, and it trickled through. It was not a dangerous shot. It was, I guess, from a dangerous area because I don't know if it even was that. It was one of the worst goals Darcy Kuemper has allowed this season. It tied the game at 2-2. That was a really, really bad goal. The third goal was kind of a change-up shot. The Ducks defenseman gets the puck in a very high danger area in the slot. He didn't handle it cleanly, and that hesitation seemed to throw Kuemper off a bit. It was just an odd-looking shot, and Kemper's reaction to it was a bit odd as well. So that one was not typical. And then the fourth goal, the game-tying goal, Ducks pulled the goalie. They get the extra attacker. Mikey Anderson has a chance to clear the puck. He didn't or couldn't do it. And eventually the Ducks keep it in the zone and are able to get the tying goal, down low again. One of their best players, Leo Carlson, puts it into the top of the net. Ducks were 2 for 2 in the shootout. We talked about the struggles for the Kings in the shootout. The first one was weird, another weird goal. Kemper got his stick caught on the side of the net or the post. The player was kind of coming in from Kemper's right. So Kemper was kind of to his right towards the post. And when he tried to move into the center of the ice, the end of his stick was caught on either the net or the post. And he actually dropped his stick as he was trying to make the save. And again, just another weird goal that goes in. The second one, I've watched the replay several times, and I don't know how Mason McTavish scored that goal. And I'm not saying it was soft or lucky. The hand-eye coordination, the quickness of how he slipped that thing through Kemper's legs was insane. The ability and the skill of that. I kind of talked about, look, the Kings have Kevin Fiala. We're going to talk about his goal in this game was amazing. He's got quick hands. Adrian Kempe obviously has a great finishing touch, but they don't do that kind of thing. They don't have the ability, or they haven't worked on it the way those guys do. That was just a sick, ridiculous, crazy goal. And I don't blame Kemper one bit on that one, because I don't even really know how he did it. But some of those shootout skills that these guys have these days are really amazing. So in the end, Darcy Kemper does not have a very good game. 4 goals allowed on 31 shots. He falls to 8, 4, and 5 in the season. He'd been really good in the month of November. So hopefully he can bounce back strong from this one. But like I said, on paper, I thought going into this game, the Kings really had an advantage in net, and it didn't really turn out that way, and that's unfortunate. Kevin Fiala scored an amazing goal in this one, and we saw our first 5-on-5 goal from that new Byfield Kempe Fiala line. And so again, I've watched the replay on this several times, and I still don't really see the puck go in the net. Now, I'm not saying it didn't. I'm just saying that's how quick the shot was. And if you watch the replay, the referee who's at the side of the net signals no goal because he didn't see it go into the net. It was that fast of a shot. But the players knew, the Ducks goaltender knew, and we never saw a clean look of it on the replay, but it looked like it went off of the near post and then the far post, and I guess it went over the goal line. But again, with Kevin Fiala, nobody on the Kings, and Kempe has a great shot. Nobody has a shot like that, has a wrist shot like that with the accuracy and the quickness and the speed. Just an amazing shot. That made it 2-1 at the time for Fiala, his team leading 10th goal of the season, his 17th point. The Kings are going to need that line to keep producing. Byfield had an assist on the Fiala goal. Kempe didn't have a point in this game, but he had a one-time shot attempt that I don't know how he didn't score on. I mean, just a great shot. The goaltender, maybe he shot it. He did shoot it back into the goalie a little bit, but great save by Billy Uso on that one. Kempe, he's been so close of late. Alex Laferriere scored the Kings' first goal, and Laffy is becoming so skilled in front of the net with deflections and just puck hunting. Trevor Moore had a shot from the point. It hit, I think, one of the Ducks in front. There was a lot of traffic. Kopitar and Laferriere were both there, and two defensemen for the Ducks were there as well. And then Laferriere just finds it in a sea of legs and puts it in for his 6th goal of the year, his 11th point. And Jim Miller made a very quick move in this game. He switched out Andrei Kuzmenko on the Kopitar line for Laferriere. Hard to argue with the results, but I will say, I will reiterate, I guess, Andrei Kuzmenko, I just don't feel like, unless he has a top 6 role, he's just not going to be effective. He was playing on the Deneau line, the 3rd line with Jeff Malott and Philip Deneau, and he didn't do much of anything. No points. He was a -1, played 10 minutes and 45 seconds. There's not much there. So I don't know if or when he's going to get the chance to try and get a position in the top 6. And I, again, can't argue with the results. Alex Laferriere did very well in this, and he's a better all-around player than Andrei Kuzmenko. He can hit. He can play defense. But I just feel like if Kuzmenko doesn't get a top 6 role, he's just not going to be effective. And if they're not going to give him that role, they might as well honestly look to trade him and see if they can get something for him. Alex Turcotte gave the Kings a 3-2 lead. Nice redirect of a gorgeous little flip pass from Brant Clark. Clark has that ability that he can flip the puck on net from the point or wherever. This was from the wall, from the sidewall. And it's so soft. It's very deflectable. And Turcotte gets his first goal of the year with a nice deflection. And I did want to say, I had thought in the previous game, Alex Turcotte didn't play because the Kings just wanted to give Samuel Helenius some action because he hadn't played in so long. But judging by everyone's comments, Turcotte was actually a healthy scratch in that game. I don't know why. I didn't see or notice his play of late had slipped and that he needed to be benched for a game to like send him a message. But again, hard to argue with the results. You know, he played a really good game other than that tripping penalty he took. That was a nice goal. Everybody talked about, including Jim Hiller, about how great it was the way he reacted to being a healthy scratch. And he was so good in practice the other day, and he handled it exactly the right way. But I was surprised that he was a healthy scratch. I don't know why he was, but apparently, again, can't argue with the results of him coming out of it. Again, first goal of the season for Turcotte and just his 4th point of the year. Some more Kings individuals to talk about next. We'll do that here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. The NBA is back. There's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game, it doesn't matter. You can bet on anything as the game unfolds. Start of the game, middle of the game, stretch run of the game, whatever you want. And you can bet on just about anything you want, any players scoring points at any point in the game, first half, second half, total points. And you can combine your live bets and do a same game parlay, over-unders, points, final outcome. And if you combine them together and you hit, that is going to increase your payout, make you a bigger payday. If you want to bet on any game at any time, it doesn't really matter if it's a buzzer beater or a 20-point blowout. FanDuel makes every game more exciting, no matter how the game is unfolding. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's right, $300 in bonus bets by just hitting your first $5 bet. So head to FanDuel.com, sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Did want to talk about a few other individuals before we get into some injury news. Joel Edmondson scored the Kings' 4th goal in this one. Or did he? It was a point shot. Corey Perry was in front of the net. It looked like Perry deflected it, but they said initially it was Edmondson's goal. And then on the broadcast, they said they changed it to Perry. And then apparently they changed it back to Edmondson. I don't know what's going on. All I know is that was his 2nd goal of the season and his 11th point. And clearly Joel Edmondson has a bomb of a shot. He needs to let that thing go as often as possible. Speaking of Corey Perry, whether he did or didn't touch that puck, certainly would have been a nice story for him. Apparently he's never scored in the pond as a visiting player. I didn't really notice from watching the TV broadcast how the fans there received him, if he heard any boos or not. I didn't hear it, but certainly Corey Perry going back to Anaheim wearing a Kings uniform was kind of one of the storylines in this one. He didn't really have too much of an impact in this one, unless he did in fact touch that puck, and for whatever reason, they gave it to Joel Edmondson. Anze Kopitar, the captain, did not have a point in this game, still at 1,290, still 18 points away from passing Marcel Dion to become the LA Kings all-time leading scorer. He had a glorious chance in this game, and I've talked about it a lot. I don't know how the shootout game winner was scored. I don't know how Kevin Fiala's shot went in, and I don't know how Anze Kopitar didn't score on a great shot pass from Jacob Moverara right on his stick in front of the net. Moverara had a really nice game, and it hit off, I think it was his stick, and it like popped straight up in the air. He was right. His stick was in the crease. And instead of just kind of deflecting it in and, you just let it hit your stick and it goes in, it just shot straight up in the air and somehow did not go in. Real quick of the stats overall for the Kings, you had Alex Laferriere, Alex Turcotte, Joel Edmondson, and Kevin Fiala all scoring goals. Brant Clark and Brian Dumoulin, along with Trevor Moore, each had 2 assists. Quentin Byfield and Mikey Anderson had 1. Joel Edmondson led in shots on goal with 4. Cody Ceci led in block shots with 5. Jeff Malott and Alex Laferriere each had 3 hits to lead the team. Brian Dumoulin was your time on ice leader with 25 minutes and 2 seconds, and Andrei Kopitar was the Kings' best face-off man. He won 10 of 16 face-offs. So again, all in all, there were some good things for the Kings. There were some good individual performances in this one, but in the end, not enough to get a victory. A couple of injury notes to pass along. I did mention that Warren Foegele did not play in this game. Apparently, the Kings had a quick pre-Thanksgiving dinner practice on Thursday. Warren Foegele left the ice and didn't return. Have not heard any definitive explanation if it's an illness or an injury. Nobody saw him get hurt. He left the ice and again didn't return. And what we're hearing is whatever it is, it should not keep him out of action for very long. He's game to game, so I don't know that we're going to see him in the next game, which is on Saturday, back home against the Canucks or not. But again, apparently, and Warren Foegele missed a little bit of time earlier this year. Apparently, whether it's illness or injury, it is not expected to be something serious. He is day-to-day, so he should be back in the near future. As for Drew Doughty, he was also on the ice, though not practicing with the team. He did some skating on his own, wearing a red non-contact jersey. So it appears that the timeline for Drew Doughty is still the same. No setbacks. He's expected to come back sometime mid-December. And him being back on the ice, skating on his own, red non-contact jersey, it kind of follows the plan. And by all indications, Drew's on schedule and again should be back in a couple of weeks. I think the Kings have missed Drew Doughty. I really do. I think they've missed him on the power play. When he comes back again, I hope to see. We'll see if it's him on the point on the first unit and Clark on the point on the second. I hope that's the case, but we'll see. And I do think the Kings have definitely missed Drew Doughty in overtime, having to put out Mikey Anderson and Joel Edmondson out there in OT rather than just Doughty and Brant Clark has been an issue. So I think the Kings have definitely missed Drew Doughty, but again, looks like he is on schedule to return sometime mid-December. All right, for you everydayers, those who listen and watch Locked On LA Kings every day, we will have another recap show coming up on Saturday after the Kings-Canucks game, and we will have a show on Sunday as well. That will be our weekly Kings fan feedback show. If you want to get in on that, the email address is lockedoneddie@gmail.com, EDDIE. If you're already watching on YouTube, we'd love for you to post your comments in the comments section. Stay connected with the show on social media, X, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We are at Locked On LA Kings. Thank you for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen. For your second listen, check out Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thanks for listening and watching Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you next time. And as always, go Kings, go.